Two princesses from different worlds met. The galaxy held its breath. Birds with feathers like glass flitted between them, leaving faint trails of color in the morning air. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of her crystal palace, staring out at the world she had always known. The palace itself seemed to float above the largest river, suspended by invisible forces only her people understood. She brushed a strand of hair from her face, her green eyes reflecting the water below, and sighed. Lyra loved her world, its beauty and its peace, but she could not shake the feeling that something was missing. The people of Urindor had always lived in harmony, careful not to disrupt the delicate balance of nature. But harmony alone was not enough. Lyra longed for adventure, for knowledge beyond the skies of her home, for connection with others who thought differently. She had spent nights gazing at the stars, wondering what other worlds might be like, and whether anyone there could understand the dreams that stirred in her heart. On the other side of the galaxy, on the storm-racked planet Zerathia, a very different world spun beneath a storm-darkened sky. The surface was metallic, jagged, and constantly battered by electrical storms that lit the horizon in violent flashes. Here, Princess Kayla moved through the halls of her palace, her steps precise, her mind focused. Unlike Lyra, Kayla had grown up with constant challenges. Her people valued strength, strategy, and the mastery of technology. Life on Zerathia was harsh, and only the strongest, the smartest, or the most disciplined could survive and lead. Kayla had learned early that hesitation could be fatal, and she had honed her mind and body to face any danger. Despite the differences in their worlds, the two princesses shared a similar destiny. Across the void of space, the galaxy itself had noticed the potential in each of them. A call had come, a summons to a neutral space station that orbited a black hole on the edge of known space. The call was urgent and mysterious, warning of a threat unlike any other, one that required the wisdom of leaders from distant worlds. Both Lyra and Kayla had been chosen to attend. Neither fully understood why, only that refusal was not an option. Lyra left her palace early, moving through the floating bridges that connected the crystal spires. Her attendants followed quietly, careful not to disturb her thoughts. Even as the airships prepared for the journey to the station, Lyra's mind wandered to the possibilities awaiting her. She imagined other civilizations, other lives, other ways of thinking. She wondered if the princess she would meet on the journey could understand the visions she carried. She had no idea that she would soon meet someone whose world was as alien to her as the void of space itself. Kayla prepared for her journey in a far more disciplined way. She inspected her ship personally, checking every control, every system, every weapon, even though the mission was supposed to be diplomatic. On Zerathia, trust was earned through action, not words. Kayla's advisors watched silently as she ran simulations of the journey, anticipating every obstacle that might appear in the warped space near the black hole. She had never met Lyra, had never spoken to anyone from a world like Urindor, yet she felt a cautious respect for the unknown. Whatever awaited them, Kayla would face it with clarity and strength. When both princesses arrived at the neutral station, the first thing they noticed was the silence. Suspended near the black hole, the station seemed to float between light and shadow, a place where time itself bent in subtle ways. Ships from countless worlds hovered in the docking bays, their designs so varied that it seemed impossible they all belonged to the same galaxy. The station was alive with quiet energy, a hum that vibrated in the metal and glass, and both Lyra and Kayla felt it, though each interpreted it differently. Lyra felt awe, wonder, and curiosity. Kayla felt alertness, focus, and strategy. Their first meeting happened in the council chamber, a vast room with walls of transparent crystal that allowed a view of the black hole swirling beyond. Delegates from dozens of civilizations sat in silence, watching as the two princesses entered. Lyra stepped lightly, her presence gentle but steady. Kayla's steps were precise, her posture commanding. When their eyes met across the room, there was an unspoken recognition. Two leaders, different in every way, but both aware of the responsibility now resting on their shoulders. The initial moments were awkward. Lyra offered a small, tentative smile. Kayla inclined her head slightly, cautious but not unfriendly. The delegates whispered among themselves, sensing the tension. Alliances could be shifted by a single word, and the two princesses were aware of this. The galaxy watched, though it did not yet understand that it was not just their people who were observing, but something older, something far greater than any of them. As the council began, the discussion quickly turned to the anomalies appearing in deep space. Reports spoke of drifting voids that bent time, swallowed ships, and created chaos where once there had been order. No civilization had the resources to confront these alone. Lyra listened carefully, asking questions that focused on understanding, on finding connections and solutions. Kayla analyzed the reports with cold precision, noting weaknesses, patterns, and potential strategies. Their approaches clashed at first, Lyra's empathy seeming almost naive, Kayla's focus seeming harsh. Yet in that clash, a spark of understanding began to form. When the session ended, the delegates dispersed to their ships and quarters, leaving the two princesses alone in a quiet corridor. Lyra looked out at the swirling darkness of space. "It's beautiful," she said softly, almost to herself, "and dangerous." Kayla nodded, studying the instruments on the wall. "It is more than that. It tests everything we know. Strength alone won't be enough. Wisdom alone won't be enough. We will need both." Lyra turned toward her. "Then maybe we can learn from each other. Maybe that's why we were both chosen." Kayla regarded her for a long moment. The idea was unusual. Her life had taught her that trust was earned through action, not words. But in Lyra's eyes, she saw a spark of something rare: vision, hope, courage. Kayla had spent her life preparing to face threats, but she had never expected to find an ally in someone so different. Their first joint assignment came sooner than expected. Reports reached the station of a small research vessel caught in a space anomaly near the edge of the black hole's influence. The ship had sent out distress signals, and time was running short. Both princesses volunteered to lead a rescue mission. The council hesitated, but none could argue with their determination. As their ship approached the anomaly, the void itself seemed to shift around them. Light bent and twisted, creating illusions that played tricks on the eyes. Lyra's instincts guided her, sensing currents and flows of energy that instruments could not measure. Kayla relied on technology, calculating trajectories and adjusting thrusters with precision. The combination was strange but effective. Each step, each maneuver revealed the other's strengths. Inside the trapped vessel, corridors were twisted, systems failing, and panic rising among the crew. Lyra calmed them, her voice steady, her words reassuring. Kayla focused on the machinery, stabilizing energy flows, rerouting power, and preventing total collapse. Together, they worked in perfect balance, Lyra handling the human element, Kayla managing the technical. The crew watched in awe, realizing that this was no ordinary rescue. Two leaders, two worlds, combining forces to achieve what seemed impossible. When the mission ended and the vessel was safely returned to the station, the princesses stood together, looking at the stars outside the viewport. Neither spoke at first. The silence was comfortable, filled with mutual respect. Lyra finally broke it. "I didn't know we could do that," she admitted softly. Kayla allowed herself a small smile. "Neither did I, but we did, together." Back in the council chamber, the delegates murmured about what had happened. Some were impressed, some skeptical, but all noticed that the bond between the two princesses had grown. They had proven that even worlds separated by culture, environment, and philosophy could unite when faced with a common challenge. That night, Lyra sat on her balcony again, staring at the stars. She thought of Kayla, of Zerathia, of the strength that came not just from power but from understanding. For the first time, she felt that the galaxy was not just a vast expanse of lonely planets, but a place full of possibility, waiting for those brave enough to reach across the void. Kayla, on her own balcony on Zerathia, looked at the same stars, though they were distant and dim compared to her world's storms. She thought of Lyra, of Urindor, of a perspective she had never considered before. Strength was important, she realized, but so was connection, empathy, and vision. She made a silent vow that whatever lay ahead, she and Lyra would face it together. And somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, the galaxy itself seemed to notice, as if holding its breath, waiting for the story of two princesses from different worlds to unfold. The first part of their journey was only the beginning. The meeting had set in motion forces far beyond their understanding, and the choices they made next would not only shape their own fates, but the fate of countless worlds. For Lyra and Kayla, the adventure had just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. After the daring rescue mission, Lyra and Kayla returned to the neutral station, But the calm did not last long. The Council was already discussing new reports from the outer systems, anomalies appearing in rapid succession, stronger and more unpredictable than before. Ships vanished, entire colonies reported disturbances in gravity, and strange energy pulses were detected near multiple star systems. The galaxy, it seemed, was on the edge of chaos. Lyra stood at the station's observation deck, her hands resting on the smooth metal railing, gazing at the swirling stars. She had always loved the cosmos, its vastness, its beauty, but now it felt different, alive, dangerous, and aware. "It's spreading faster than we thought," she said softly. Kayla, standing beside her, studied the same distant stars with a sharp, analytical gaze. "It is not random," Kayla said. "There is a pattern, something is orchestrating these events, and it's intelligent." Lyra's eyes widened. "Intelligent, like alive," Kayla nodded. "Yes, but not like any life form we have ever known. This is ancient, beyond our comprehension. If we underestimate it, countless lives will be lost." The council soon summoned the princesses to a strategic meeting. Representatives from multiple worlds gathered, their faces showing concern, fear, and suspicion. Lyra noticed the subtle tension as the council members whispered about the two princesses' growing friendship. Many feared that their alliance might shift the balance of power, giving undue influence to their worlds. Yet the real threat was far larger than political rivalries. Reports detailed the strange anomalies. Starships had been drawn into void storms, pockets of space where time slowed, gravity twisted, and energy surged unpredictably. Sensors failed, communication systems broke down, and even the most advanced ships were not immune. The Council admitted that none of their civilizations could face this alone. Lyra and Kayla shared a quiet look. They had already learned that cooperation between different strengths could achieve what neither could do alone. The first rescue had shown it. Now the stakes were far higher and the need for unity urgent. "Then we must act," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "We cannot wait for the Council to decide. Lives are at risk and time is short," Kayla agreed. "I've studied the anomalies. Their behavior is consistent with a sentient energy presence. It reacts to conflict, to chaos. The calmer, more organized forces act as a stabilizer. We can use this knowledge, but we need to move carefully." Together, they planned a reconnaissance mission to one of the recently disturbed sectors. Their ship, a hybrid of Urandorian elegance and Zarathian technology, gleamed under the station lights. Lyra had insisted on adding personal touches, soft lighting, open decks for observation, while Kayla focused on shielding, navigation, and emergency systems. The combination of beauty and efficiency reflected their partnership. As they departed the station, the void seemed alive around them. The stars twisted into impossible shapes, colors shimmered that should not exist, and gravitational waves tugged at their ship with invisible hands. Lyra reached out instinctively, feeling the currents of energy as if she could sense their flow. Kayla monitored the instruments, issuing commands to keep the ship stable. Neither spoke, their focus absolute. The target of their mission was a drifting research station near the outer edge of the sector. Reports indicated that the station's crew had been studying a minor anomaly, hoping to understand its energy patterns. But the anomaly had grown uncontrollable, trapping the station in a swirling pocket of unstable space. When Lyra and Kayla arrived, the sight was terrifying. The station floated twisted and warped, its metal frame bending in impossible angles, lights flickering erratically. Small bursts of energy arced through space around it, like lightning in zero gravity. A rescue would be difficult, perhaps impossible, but they had no choice. Lyra took a deep breath and spoke softly. "We can do this. We have to." Kayla nodded, her eyes steady and calm. "Prepare for anomaly entry. We will need precise coordination." They maneuvered their ship into the edge of the anomaly. Time seemed to slow, and the crew felt weightless, though gravity remained. Instruments fluctuated wildly. Lyra's instincts guided her, sensing the currents of energy that instruments could not detect. Kayla adjusted thrusters, shields, and stabilizers with precision. The two worked in perfect harmony, the princess's skills complementing one another. Inside the station, the crew was panicking. Hallways twisted impossibly, doors refusing to open, and machinery sparking unpredictably. Lyra moved among them, her voice calm and soothing. "Follow me. Stay close. We can get through this." She led the crew through unstable corridors, her senses picking out the safest paths through the chaos. Kayla worked alongside the engineers, rerouting power, stabilizing energy flows, and repairing critical systems. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but her focus never wavered. Where Lyra provided hope and guidance, Kayla provided control and strategy. Together, they became a force capable of confronting what had seemed unstoppable. At one point, a corridor collapsed behind them, the metal twisting and bending like molten wax. Lyra and Kayla exchanged a quick glance. Without hesitation, Kayla activated a stabilizer field while Lyra guided the crew through a narrow side passage. The two princesses moved as one, their teamwork seamless, instinctive, and unbreakable. Finally, they reached the central hub of the station, where the main control systems had begun to fail. Energy pulses from the anomaly were tearing at the structure. Kayla and Lyra worked together, Lyra coordinating the crew while Kayla recalibrated the power systems. The station shuddered violently, and for a moment it seemed as though all might be lost. But with one final effort, the energy was stabilized, and the station's systems flickered back to life. The crew erupted in relief and gratitude, praising the princesses for their courage and skill. Lyra smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We only did what was necessary. You all helped too." Kayla nodded, her expression calm but satisfied. "The anomaly tested us all, but we prevailed because we worked together." As they returned to their ship, Lyra glanced at Kayla. "We make a good team," she said softly. Kayla allowed herself a small smile, unusual for someone so disciplined. "Yes, together we are stronger than apart. I understand now why our meeting was not a coincidence." During the journey back to the neutral station, Lyra and Kayla spoke of their worlds, their people, and their beliefs. They discovered shared values hidden beneath surface differences. Lyra taught Kayla the importance of patience, empathy, and understanding emotions. Kayla showed Lyra the value of discipline, strategy, and logical problem-solving. Each learned from the other, and with each lesson their bond grew stronger. But the galaxy did not rest. Even as the princesses returned to the station, new reports arrived. Multiple ships disappearing near the edge of the quadrant, entire colonies experiencing unexplained energy surges, and strange signals being detected from the dark void. The anomalies were spreading, growing stronger and more unpredictable. It became clear that the threat they faced was far beyond anything their civilizations had ever encountered. The council convened again, and the delegates were tense. Many spoke of fear, of suspicion, and of the need for caution. Some questioned whether the two princesses, from worlds so different, could truly lead a coordinated response. Others quietly noted that the first mission had been a success, and perhaps unity was the only path forward. Lyra and Kayla stood side by side, presenting their findings and plans. Lyra spoke with calm authority, emphasizing the importance of cooperation, understanding, and hope. Kayla presented strategic analysis, showing patterns in the anomalies and proposing methods to counteract them. The combination of empathy and logic, vision and discipline impressed many council members. Slowly, tension began to ease. Even the most skeptical delegates could see that these two princesses together were capable of something extraordinary. That night, Lyra sat on the observation deck, looking at the swirling darkness of space, feeling the pulse of the galaxy as if it were alive. Kayla joined her, standing silently. Neither needed to speak. In that moment, the bond between them was clear, two leaders from different worlds, united by fate, facing a threat that could destroy everything if they failed. "The galaxy is changing," Lyra said finally. "And we are part of that change," Kayla nodded. "Yes, and we must guide it wisely. We cannot let fear or pride divide us. Only together can we face what is coming." As the stars shifted and twisted beyond the black hole, a faint pulse of energy shimmered in the distance. Neither princess could yet comprehend its full nature, but both felt it, a presence ancient, powerful, and aware. The cosmic intelligence that had begun to stir in the dark spaces of the galaxy had noticed them, and the meeting of two princesses from different worlds had set forces in motion that would shape the fate of countless civilizations. Lyra and Kayla knew that their next steps would be dangerous. They had faced anomalies, saved lives, and earned each other's trust, but this was only the beginning. The true test had yet to come, and the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see whether these two unlikely allies could meet a challenge far greater than any they had imagined. Even as the station's lights glimmered softly and the council slept, both princesses stared into the endless expanse of space, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They had survived their first trial together, but the real journey, the one that would define the fate of the galaxy, was only beginning. And somewhere, deep in the void beyond known space, the cosmic presence stirred, its awareness growing. It was intelligent, ancient, and patient. It would test the courage, wisdom, and unity of Lyra and Kayla. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the next chapter of the story of two princesses from different worlds. The anomalies continued to grow, stretching farther across the galaxy than anyone had imagined. Entire star systems trembled as strange energy pulses bent light and warped space. Even the most advanced technology struggled to understand the phenomenon. Lyra and Kayla had become central figures in the effort to study and contain it. Their previous successes had earned the respect of the Council, yet both knew that respect alone could not stop what was coming. One evening, as they monitored incoming data on the observation deck of the neutral station, a sudden spike appeared in the readings. It was massive, unlike anything they had seen before. Lyra leaned forward, her fingers tracing the patterns of energy swirling on the screen. This isn't random," she said softly. "It's concentrated, deliberate." Kayla examined the data, her mind calculating trajectories and energy flows. "It's a sentient presence," she said. "It's testing, waiting, preparing, and I think it knows we are watching." Lyra shivered, not from fear, but from the intensity of the moment. For a long time, she had sensed that the galaxy held secrets far beyond understanding. Now, those secrets were awakening. Kayla's hand rested briefly on the console, adjusting readings and rerouting power to ensure their station remained stable. "We will have to face it directly," she said. "There is no other choice." The council convened again, this time with urgency in every delegate's voice. The anomalies were no longer isolated. They were spreading, growing, and becoming dangerous. Ships sent to investigate had returned damaged, their crews shaken by visions of impossible landscapes, twisting corridors, and flashes of light that seemed alive. Some had even reported whispers in their minds, subtle suggestions that drove fear, doubt, and confusion. Lyra and Kayla listened carefully, absorbing every report. The stakes had risen beyond politics, strategy, or even survival. They were facing a presence older than any civilization, one that seemed to exist outside time itself. "We need to understand it," Lyra said. "Not fight it blindly, but learn its purpose, its patterns, its language," Kayla nodded. "Agreed, but learning may require risk. We will have to enter the heart of the anomalies. We will be tested." Within hours, a plan was developed. Lyra and Kayla would lead an expedition to the central region of the anomalies, a place where energy surged violently and space seemed to bend and twist upon itself. Their ship, equipped with the best technology from both Urindor and Zarathia, was reinforced to withstand extreme conditions. Every precaution was taken, yet both princesses knew that no preparation could eliminate all danger. As they approached the anomaly, the view outside the ship transformed. Stars shimmered and stretched into impossible shapes. Colors unseen by the human eye danced in waves across the void, and gravity fluctuated unpredictably. The ship rocked violently, and alarms sounded, yet both princesses remained focused. Lyra's instincts guided them through shifting currents of energy, sensing safe passages where instruments could not. Kayla adjusted the ship's shields and thrusters with precision, her mind calculating every potential outcome. They entered the heart of the anomaly, and the world outside seemed to dissolve. Space itself appeared liquid, folding in on itself like a living organism. The energy pulses formed shapes that mimicked stars, planets, and even figures from their own memories. Lyra's pulse quickened. "It's aware," she whispered. "It's trying to communicate." Kayla studied the patterns, noticing that the pulses responded to their thoughts, their movements, their presence. "It reacts to our perception," she said. "It is testing our understanding, our focus, our unity." Suddenly, the ship was engulfed in a bright flash, and illusions surrounded them. Lyra saw the forests of Urindor twisting into metal and fire, rivers turning to molten streams, and creatures she had never imagined roaming among the trees. Kayla saw Zarathia's storms intensifying, lightning striking endlessly, the metallic surface cracking and splitting. The visions were vivid, real enough to make them question their senses. Lyra reached for Kayla's hand instinctively. "We have to trust each other," she said. Kayla squeezed her hand in return, grounding herself against the overwhelming illusions. "Focus on reality," she said. "Together we can see the truth." The entity, as they now realized, was testing more than their courage. It sought to understand whether cooperation, trust, and unity could exist in beings from different worlds. It projected fears, doubts, and past regrets, trying to divide them, weaken them, and overwhelm their senses. Yet Lyra and Kayla had already learned from each other. Lyra's empathy and intuition complemented Kayla's logic and discipline. They began to navigate the illusions together, identifying which visions were false and which required action. Hours passed in a subjective moment that felt like days. The entity's tests grew more complex. Lyra confronted visions of failure, seeing entire civilizations destroyed despite her efforts. Kayla faced scenarios where strategy alone could not save lives and where her decisions led to irreversible loss. Each time they drew strength from one another, combining insight and logic, heart and mind, to persevere. Finally, the entity's presence became concentrated, forming a pulse of energy unlike any they had experienced. It resonated with their thoughts and emotions, almost as if it were alive and seeking understanding. Lyra spoke softly, projecting her empathy into the energy. "We do not wish to fight. We seek balance. We seek understanding." Kayla followed, her voice firm and precise. "We will meet you with strength and clarity. We offer cooperation, not conflict." The pulse of energy responded, swirling and contracting, then expanding into a spectrum of color and light. Visions dissolved, leaving only the two princesses and the vast expanse of energy surrounding them. For a moment, the anomaly was silent. Then a wave of understanding passed through them, an awareness that the entity had recognized their unity, their courage, and their willingness to act together. Lyra and Kayla realized that the presence was not inherently destructive. It fed on chaos and conflict, but it also responded to harmony, clarity, and balance. They had passed the test, not through power alone, but through cooperation, understanding, and trust. As they navigated out of the anomaly, the stars returned to their familiar forms, the colors of space settling into a calm shimmer. The ship's instruments returned to normal readings, and the immediate threat appeared contained. Lyra leaned back in her seat, her breath coming slowly. "We did it," she said quietly. Kayla allowed herself a rare, faint smile. "Together, that is the key." Upon returning to the neutral station, the princesses were greeted by the council. Delegates listened with astonishment as Lyra and Kayla recounted their experience. The entity, the illusions, the tests, it was beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. Yet the council also recognized something extraordinary. The anomaly could be addressed not by conquest, but by understanding and cooperation. Delegates began discussing new strategies, inspired by the example of the two princesses. The possibility of interstellar unity, once a distant dream, suddenly seemed achievable. Lyra and Kayla's partnership became a symbol of hope, showing that even the most different worlds could find strength together. That night, Lyra stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. The galaxy seemed quieter, calmer, yet she knew the entity was still out there, watching, testing, and learning. Kayla joined her, silent at first. Together, they watched the void, feeling the pulse of energy that lingered at the edge of perception. "We've proven that unity works," Lyra said softly. "But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and there is more to learn." Kayla nodded. "Yes. We have survived the first challenge, but greater tests will come. We must remain vigilant, adaptable, and united. Only then can we guide the galaxy safely." As they stood together, a faint shimmer appeared in the distance, a reminder that the cosmic intelligence was still observing, still alive, and still aware of their actions. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for what would come next. The fate of countless worlds now rested on the choices of two princesses from different worlds, and the bond they had forged in the heart of danger would shape the future in ways no one could yet imagine. Lyra turned to Kayla, a determined light in her eyes. "We've faced fear, illusions, and chaos. We can face whatever comes next." Kayla's expression was steady, unwavering. "Together." The galaxy itself seemed to acknowledge their unity, the stars flickering in a rhythm that felt almost like applause. Lyra and Kayla had survived the entity's trial, and the lessons they had learned would carry them into the challenges ahead. Beyond the black hole, beyond the shifting currents of space and time, the entity pulsed, ancient and intelligent, sensing potential where once it had seen only conflict. It would continue to watch, to test, but now it knew that cooperation, empathy, and strength could exist even across vast differences. The galaxy's fate was no longer solely in the hands of civilizations divided by fear. It rested with those who dared to unite. And Lyra and Kayla, two princesses from worlds as different as fire and water, sky and storm, had already begun to shape a new future, one in which understanding and courage might hold the galaxy together. The first trial had ended. The true challenge, the one that would decide whether harmony could truly prevail across the stars, was yet to come. But for the first time, Lyra and Kayla knew they were ready. After their encounter with the cosmic entity, Lyra and Kayla returned to the neutral station, but there was little time to rest. The energy readings from the outer regions continued to fluctuate, and the entity's presence remained unpredictable. It had tested them, yes, but it had also left a reminder. The galaxy was vast, fragile, and full of unknown forces. Both princesses knew that their next steps would define not just their futures, but the future of countless civilizations. The council convened immediately upon their return. Delegates from dozens of worlds gathered in the vast chamber, their eyes fixed on the two princesses. Some faces showed hope, others skepticism, but all were aware that these two young leaders had accomplished what no one else could. Lyra stepped forward first, her voice calm yet resonant, carrying the weight of her experience. "We have faced the anomaly together," she said. "We have survived its tests, but the entity is still out there. If we do nothing, countless worlds will be at risk. We must act to guide it, to help it understand us, and to ensure balance in the galaxy." Kayla followed, her tone precise and commanding. "We have seen the power of cooperation. Alone, our civilizations are vulnerable. Together, with understanding, strategy, and unity, we can stabilize the regions affected by the anomalies and establish communication with the entity. This is not a battle of weapons. It is a challenge of wisdom, courage, and balance." The delegates listened, some murmuring among themselves, realizing the truth in the princess's words. For centuries, fear, rivalry, and pride had divided the galaxy. But here were two leaders, from completely different worlds, demonstrating that unity and trust could overcome even the most incomprehensible forces. Slowly, skepticism gave way to cautious optimism. Preparations began immediately. Lyra and Kayla organized teams from multiple civilizations, combining knowledge, technology, and skills. Ships were equipped to stabilize local anomalies, research teams were deployed to study energy flows, and communication arrays were tuned to detect signs of the entity's awareness. Lyra oversaw coordination and diplomacy, ensuring that each world understood its role and value. Kayla focused on strategy, logistics, and technical precision, creating plans that minimized risk and maximized effectiveness. Despite the monumental tasks, both princesses maintained their calm focus. They had learned from their earlier encounter that fear and doubt were as dangerous as the anomalies themselves. Each night, they stood together on the observation deck, studying the swirling void, sharing insights, and preparing for the moment when they would confront the entity again. The opportunity came sooner than expected. A massive energy pulse surged from the core of the anomaly cluster, larger and more structured than any before. It seemed to pulse with intention, as though calling them. Lyra and Kayla recognized this as an invitation, or perhaps a challenge. Without hesitation, they boarded their ship, leading a convoy of coordinated vessels into the heart of the anomaly. As they approached, space itself seemed to stretch and bend. Stars elongated, colors shifted, and gravity fluctuated. Yet Lyra's instincts guided them, sensing safe paths amidst the chaos. Kayla adjusted thrusters and shields with precise calculation, ensuring the convoy remained intact. Together, they moved as one, a symbol of unity against a vast and unknowable force. At the center of the anomaly, the entity's presence became unmistakable. Waves of luminous energy pulsed outward, forming shapes that suggested consciousness, awareness, and immense power. It projected visions of the galaxy, showing worlds in chaos, energy streams twisting violently, and the fragile balance of life hanging in uncertainty. Yet there was no aggression, only observation. It was testing their intentions, their understanding, and their capacity for cooperation. Lyra took a deep breath and spoke into the void, her voice calm and filled with empathy. "We do not seek to harm you. we seek understanding. We see the power you hold and we wish to learn how to coexist. There is strength in balance, wisdom in harmony, and courage in cooperation. Kayla followed, her voice steady and precise. We offer clarity, strategy, and unity. We represent countless civilizations who value life, growth, and balance. We will guide, not fight. We will stabilize, not destroy. Work with us, and we can bring order where there is chaos. The entity responded, a ripple of energy washing over the fleet. It projected visions into their minds, fears, doubts, possible futures. Lyra and Kayla faced illusions of failure, star systems collapsing, civilizations lost, and impossible choices that could not be reconciled. Yet neither faltered. Lyra projected calm, seeing the patterns and currents beneath the illusions, finding solutions that others could not. Kayla calculated, adjusted, and directed their fleet with unwavering precision, ensuring no vessel was lost. Together, they reached the entity's core, a swirling vortex of luminous energy. The entity tested them one final time, probing their hearts and minds. It showed them their own weaknesses, the divisions in their worlds, and the challenges that lay ahead. Lyra felt doubt creep in, questioning whether unity could truly survive in a galaxy so vast and fractured. Kayla faced visions of conflict, showing how even careful planning could fail against unforeseen forces. Yet in that moment, they drew strength from each other. Lyra's empathy reminded Kayla that connection and understanding could bridge even the deepest divides. Kayla's clarity and strategy grounded Lyra, showing that courage without guidance could falter. They reached out, mentally and emotionally, projecting a combined message of balance, trust, and unity into the entity's core. The entity responded, its energy calming, stabilizing, and finally aligning with the coordinated efforts of the princesses. It pulsed with recognition, acknowledging their intentions, their courage, and their capacity for cooperation. The anomalies stabilized, energy flows returned to normal, and the entity receded into the distant void, its presence still vast but no longer chaotic. The fleet erupted in relief and awe. Lyra and Kayla had done what no one else could. They had transformed a potential destroyer into an ally or at least a neutral force. The galaxy's future had shifted, guided by the courage, wisdom, and unity of two leaders from completely different worlds. Returning to the neutral station, Lyra and Kayla were greeted not just with applause, but with a sense of hope that had not been felt for generations. Delegates spoke of cooperation, of unity, of a future where civilizations could work together rather than compete. Lyra addressed the council, her voice carrying both humility and determination. We have seen that even the greatest power in the universe can be guided by understanding and trust. Let this be a lesson for all civilizations. Strength alone is not enough. Unity, courage, and wisdom are what shape the galaxy's destiny. Kayla followed, her tone calm and commanding. We have faced fear, chaos, and uncertainty. We have learned that cooperation across worlds is possible, and it is essential. Let this partnership between our civilizations be a model for the galaxy. Together, we can face any challenge. Over the following weeks, the influence of Lyra and Kayla's example began to spread. Worlds once divided by rivalry and suspicion began to communicate, share knowledge, and cooperate on stabilization projects. New alliances formed, guided by the principles demonstrated by the two princesses. The anomalies, while not entirely gone, were now managed, studied, and understood. The galaxy's fragile balance was restored, not through dominance or force, but through wisdom, courage, and unity. Lyra invited Kayla to visit Erendor, and Kayla accepted. They traveled together across floating forests, luminous rivers, and crystal spires. Kayla marveled at the beauty, serenity, and intricate balance of Lyra's world. Lyra, in turn, was fascinated by Kayla's tales of Zerathia, its storms, technological marvels, and resilient people. They shared knowledge, strategies, and visions for the future, learning from each other and inspiring all who witnessed their partnership. The two princesses became symbols across the galaxy. Children on distant worlds learned their story of courage, trust, and unity. Leaders studied their methods, adopting diplomacy, cooperation, and joint strategy as tools to guide civilizations. Even the most skeptical delegates began to acknowledge the power of collaboration, inspired by the example of Lyra and Kayla. Yet the cosmic entity remained, distant but aware. Its presence was no longer a threat, but a reminder of the vastness and mystery of the universe. Lyra and Kayla had proven that even forces older and more powerful than any civilization could be met with understanding, empathy, and strategy. They had not conquered it. They had reasoned with it, guided it, and earned its acknowledgement. As they stood together on the observation deck of Urindor's palace, looking at the stars that now seemed brighter and more alive than ever, Lyra spoke softly. "We have done something extraordinary, but the galaxy will always hold challenges. This is only the beginning." Kayla placed a steady hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Yes, but now we know the truth. We are stronger together. Whatever comes next, we face it as one, and the galaxy is watching, learning, and growing with us." The stars above seemed to twinkle in response, as if acknowledging the bond between two leaders who had bridged worlds, faced the unknown, and shaped the future. Lyra and Kayla smiled, not out of triumph, but out of understanding. They had faced fear, chaos, and the unknowable, and emerged with a vision that could guide generations. And as the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the next chapter would bring, one thing was certain. Two princesses from different worlds had met, and their courage, unity, and wisdom had forever changed the course of history. The stars themselves seemed to celebrate, shimmering with possibilities, reflecting the hope that one day all civilizations could rise together, united in purpose and spirit. Lyra and Kayla had not only survived, they had inspired, guided, and protected the galaxy. Their story would be told for generations, a testament to the power of trust, understanding, and cooperation. And as they gazed at the endless expanse of stars, they knew that together they could face anything and that the galaxy would never be the same again. The entity, the stars, the worlds, they all watched. And in that moment the galaxy finally exhaled, no longer trembling in fear but brimming with anticipation, ready for the new era that two princesses had begun. Two princesses from different worlds met. The galaxy held its breath.